G'day campers, welcome back to 1010 Adventures. And in today's episode, we're reviewing the My Coolman 60 litre all-rounder fridge freezer. It's a single zone fridge, obviously 60 litre capacity. But the real reason for today's review isn't anything to do so much with the fridge. One thing that most four-wheel drivers have is a dual battery system in their car. We don't. If you watched my weights video, you will probably be able to recall that having a AGM battery in our bonnet pushed our front axle over its maximum weight limit in the Fortuner. Now, I'm not too worried about weights with the GVM upgrade in the car, but what I am worried about is spending $2,000 odd getting a probably lithium battery set up in the car purely to run a fridge. Now, why are we getting a fridge when we've already got a 96 litre dual zone fridge freezer in the caravan? More on that a little bit later. What I really want to talk about, as I said, is what do we do around power? What I want to talk about is these two boxes up here. But before I get to these, let's open up the box and actually have a look at the fridge itself. We bought this at the Melbourne Leisure Fest Caravan and Camping Show back in October. It's now November and I'm finally getting around to recording this. The guys at My Coolman did a really good job for us. They didn't charge us any shipping. And I will say they also looked after us very, very well on the price. Nothing to do with the fact that I'm a YouTuber, just that we were lucky enough to get them as they were closing on a Sunday. And they were keen not to be carting too much stuff back to their trucks, I would say. I have reached out to the guys at My Coolman as well, just before I started recording this. I'm waiting for a contact back, but I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to provide you with a discount code should you want to get yourself one of these or any of the accessories that we're going to talk about in a bit. Okay, a couple of the first things that we're going to talk about. Number one, on this side, we have our power input and temperature controls. So we've got AC and DC power over this side. Temperature controls, as I said. Moving further up, we have some spring-loaded handles. They are incredibly robust, and that spring is quite strong. That's not going to rattle around or bounce while you're driving. Conveniently, we have a bottle opener. I might need that later. Let's go around the other side of the fridge. On this side, we have a second DC power input. So this means when we're in the car, while we're driving around, we can have this powered off DC, but we can pre-chill it on the AC input. Having it on both sides means it doesn't really matter which way we go in the car. If we want to have the controls facing the back of the car so they're easy to access, it can sit in this side. And if we want to keep them away, keep them hidden, if you've got kids and you don't want them pressing buttons, having them up against the back seats where they can't touch them might be a good option as well. Now, that said, if you do want them on this side and you're wanting the fridge on the left-hand side of your car, first thing you're going to notice is that the fridge opens this way. This isn't a dual fold lid. Our current fridge that we have in the caravan is a dual directional lid. This isn't, but that's not really a problem. Let me demonstrate. Simple as pull it back further than it needs to and you'll actually hear it click. And it comes off. The fridge lid is magnetically sealed and opens in both directions. So just turn the whole lid around and it'll open the direction you want. As I said, these are magnetic. There's no plastic hinges to break. Everything here is really robust. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is show you the inside and what actually comes in this fridge. In here you'll see we have quite a few different shaped baskets, and all of these are set up for making travel as convenient as possible. So the first thing we can do is take up this top shelf. So this shelf has a little cutout, so we've got a fridge door. This part here can unhook and drop down flat onto this side to give you a full basket length. Otherwise, as it is at the moment, like this, when we drop it back into the fridge, what you'll see is you now have a point for wine bottles, tall bottles to sit. So let's take this back out again. Then we have here, as I just discovered, a box of accessories and the instruction manual. It is taped. I've obviously undone that to get in to read the manual. And if we take the lid off that, in here we have our DC cable, so standard cigarette plug and the DC connector. We also have our AC connector, which is a standard kettle cable. Replacement QR code, and then we have our fridge manual. Okay, and that is everything that goes in this fridge. Next thing we want to talk about is, as I alluded to in the beginning of the video, we don't have a dual battery kit. So what are we going to do about that? We didn't want to spend $2,000 odd getting it wired in. I've said it once, I'll say it a million times, I am useless with auto electrics. So I'm not going to wire in a dual battery system. You can put in the comments below how easy it is. It's definitely not something I'm comfortable doing. I know my way around the wiring that's in the car, but I'm not comfortable actually doing something like that myself. So if I'm off-road and I get stuck, I know what I'm looking for, I know where the fuses are, I know what fuse does what, all the basic stuff, but actually running wires and cabling through the car, definitely not something I'm going to tackle myself. So I'd be looking at paying an auto electrician to wire it in. That's going to add another couple of $100 to the overall price of getting a battery in the car. So what attracted us to My Coolman in the first place, the fact that this fridge, and really anything in the My Coolman range, you can purchase an external lithium battery. Now this doesn't weigh very much. It is a 15 amp hour battery. Now that is not going to get you a lot of hours. I will agree with anybody that's going to comment below on that. But for our purposes, when we're traveling as a general rule in the caravan. What we're looking at for this fridge and this battery is something for the car for day trips, overnight stops. While we're in the car, we're going to be able to charge the battery and run the fridge off the alternator as you do with any accessories. Overnight, while we're camped up and sleeping, whatever, we will still want our fridge to be able to stay cold. Generally speaking, we're only going to be using this for single or maybe 2-night stays. If we're talking a 2-night stay, it's going to be something where we're taking the car out, going for a drive, coming back to a camping location, setting up a swag, sleeping, packing up in the morning, going for another drive, and then potentially camping somewhere else. We're not going to be leaving things set up. So this fridge will be in the car the whole time we're traveling. And as such, if we're out for 6-7 hours, that's going to be more than enough time for this battery to charge in the car. So let's open up the box and have a look at what's inside. Now, while I'm opening this up, there is another part to this. It's in this little box here, which we'll talk about in a second. For what we're going to do, we are going to need this additional bit of kit to be able to charge in the car while we're driving. So we've got 2 boxes, one slightly heavy, one quite light. If we open this one up, this is going to have all of our cables and instructions. So this has got an AC power pack to charge the battery on mains power. Now, very important to note here at this stage, if you just buy the battery, you will need to charge the battery for, I think on mains, I'll check the manual, and I'll correct myself down below, but I think from mains power, it takes about 2 to 3 hours to charge up off mains power. If you're talking running it off DC power, that's going to be a different question entirely. Now, let's have a look at the battery itself. So it's a reasonable size, reasonably light. Lithium is, as everybody knows, very, very lightweight compared to lead acid and other type of batteries. And this is the battery kit. So as we see here, we have the output of the battery. So this is the part that connects to the DC power point on your fridge. Now this can go either side and will run using this cable that has two DC connectors, and you've got a right angle one and a straight one. For the fridge battery, I would recommend running the straight and run the angled one in the fridge just to save a bit of room. You then have your on button and available charge lights. So when you turn this on, I'm going to turn this on, see if there is actually any charge in it whatsoever. That appears to be no, it's come completely flat, so I am going to have to charge this up to do the next stage of this, this test. The next thing I want to show you is what I think is probably the best feature of this battery, and that is it's fully magnetic. So anywhere on the fridge, it's going to stick and stay there. It's not going to bounce around. That sticks really rigidly and does take a little bit to get off. So that can stay right there and power your fridge while you're camped up. Now, for this particular fridge, that 15 amp hour battery is going to last about 13 hours. Okay, now talking about charging in the car, what you can't do with this battery is charge it off your car battery without one more accessory, and that is a DC-DC charger. Much simpler little device. All the cables are pre-attached. Okay, so you have your instruction manual and you have your DC-DC charger. In this, you have a standard cigarette plug that can go into any cigarette plug in your vehicle. You then have a standard power plug that will go into the battery. Now, naturally, of course, this is also magnetic. So you can connect that and leave that connected to the fridge while you're driving along. It shouldn't rattle off. It is actually designed to sit flush with the rest of the battery, so it's not going to bounce around. Obviously, only being two magnets, it's not going to quite have the rigidity of the main battery, but being much lighter, I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. Now, the next bit of testing is to really give this battery a live test. So I'm going to charge this up for the next couple of hours. I'm going to come back to you tomorrow with the results. Okay, we're back. So a couple of little updates from last night's or yesterday's testing. I said yesterday that this battery would take about 2 to 3 hours to charge off mains. I was wrong, it took about 8-9 hours. So I didn't actually get the fridge onto battery power until midnight. After doing that testing, what has really surprised me is how long the battery has actually lasted. So if I grab my other camera, you can see here we're still sitting at 3 degrees. What's more impressive is that the battery, as you can see here, the third light is flashing. Now the way those light systems work is if it's got 4 lights or the fourth one is flashing, it means it's between 75 and 100% battery. If we're at the third light flashing, it means we're between 50 and 75%. The second light flashing, between 25 and 50. And if the first light is flashing, it means you are between 0 and 25% battery power and time to start looking for alternative power sources. It's been 14 hours since I turned this fridge on to battery power. It's been holding that 3 degrees all night. It's a very, very hot day, very hot night. It's 30 degrees today and hasn't skipped a beat. Importantly, the fridge is empty. So there's been no thermal mass to maintain a temperature. Fridges are more economical if there is a thermal mass inside them. So the fuller the fridge, if it's already cold, so if you fill your fridge with cold produce, it is going to last longer or use less power and less pressure on the compressor to keep that fridge at temperature if there's a thermal mass inside. So empty, running for, as I say, about 14 hours now already. The manual states for this fridge that this battery should last 13 hours. So we're already an hour over that, and based on this, at the very least, we've got 50% battery left. I'm going to put a comment about here exactly how long we got out of the battery. So I'll leave this running, and when it does eventually, I'm going to run it till it's dead basically. And when this does turn off, I'll let you know how we go. Also, a couple of other new interesting bits to add since we started testing. I have spoken to Leisure Technologies, or Leisure-Tec, who are the parent company of brands like Truma and My Coolman. I've had a chat to a couple of the guys there, so Daniel and Peter, thank you so much for all the support and the help. I really appreciate all the information you've given me. So what I can tell you, and there is some other stuff that I can't tell you, but what I can tell you is that the batteries, I wanted to know if I could chain up more than one to get extended life. At this stage, no, you cannot. But there's nothing stopping you from getting two batteries and charging them both on mains and hot swapping them as you go, leaving one charging while you're driving and the other one ready to go when you pack up camp. So you may want to run two batteries if you're going to be doing a long trip and need that extra power. But unfortunately, no, you can't just chain them up and charge them together, or chain them up and run with an extended battery life. Now, the second question I wanted to know was, can you charge using the DC-DC charger? Can you charge using solar panels or with a regulated solar panel? And the answer was a bit vague. And there is a reason for that, which I can't go into. But at this stage, the answer is no, you cannot use a regulated solar panel to run the DC-DC charger to charge the battery off a solar panel. The reason for that basically is that the voltage that this battery is going to put out is going to be higher than what the regulated solar panel is producing, and therefore the solar panel regulator isn't going to trickle the charge into the battery. It's going to be basically saying, no, there's more voltage in here than we're producing, so it's not going to turn it on. A regulated solar panel does not produce the same voltage charge as, say, an alternator out of a vehicle, which is what the DC-DC charger requires. So what I can say at this stage is no, you can't, but that may well change in the future. So I will leave it as vague as that. But I will say, from what I've seen thus far, as I say, 14 hours on, we've still got 50% battery left. I do expect that will probably drop a little bit faster as we get closer through. It's also now daytime, it's 30 degrees. There's going to be a lot more heat coming through. It was still a warm night overnight. It was still 22 overnight, and the battery still held up really well. But I do think we're going to see a rapid drop over the rest of today. So we'll see what happens. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon now. We'll see what happens around. I'll test it, check it again every couple of hours from now until it goes flat, and I'll put that down below. One thing left to find out, and I'm still waiting for one more contact from Leisure-Tec, and that's from one of their marketing team, who are going to talk to me about what we can do around potential for discount codes and so forth. So I can't guarantee anything at this stage, but again, if there is going to be a discount code, it will be in the comments below, or in the description, I should say. All in all, thus far, really, really impressed. The fridge is really robust. The battery is doing really, really well. I'm really looking forward to, in the coming weeks and months, running this in a real world scenario rather than just sitting here in my alfresco. But all told, I think this is going to be a really good solution. So at the end of the day, can you feasibly run a fridge in your car without a traditional dual battery setup? Yes. Thanks again for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll put a link to the Leisure-Tec website down below as well. Check these guys out. Thus far, they've been really, really helpful. It is a great company. They've got some really big brands that they look after at Leisure-Tec. So Truma, their hot water systems, gas heaters, and in fact, one of their products will be coming up in a future video that I'm going to talk about in our next video. Hopefully, this inspires you to check out the brand. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.